Please welcome back to the stage Cheyanne M. Daniels, joined by Kamisha Battle Jackson, perinatal anxiety and depression survivor and social support and volunteer manager at Postpartum Support Virginia.
Kamisha, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to give a little bit of a warning to everybody. Kamisha is an absolute delight. She is wonderful, and I could talk to her for hours. So I'm just warning you, you're all going to love her as well.
Thank you.
So Kamisha,
Yes.
you work with Postpartum Support Virginia
Yes.
to help women dealing with perinatal anxiety and depression.
Yes.
And you came to this work after your experience.
That's correct.
Are you comfortable sharing that experience with our audience today?
I am comfortable. Yes, sure. So I had what you call what people like to call a pandemic baby. I don't like to use that term, but I was 4 months pregnant. Hadn't even told my principal. I'm a former educator at the time. 4 months pregnant when everything shut down in March. That was the scariest time because I like to be in control. I was not in control in that moment and I'm pregnant with my first child. There was a lot of questions around COVID and testing and my husband being able to be there with me when I give birth or even at my visits, my doctor's visits, he was not present. He stayed in the car. During some visits, I was allowed to FaceTime him in and it was just not what I expected it to be my first time around. And just to speed up a little bit, I found myself really, really sad about all the thoughts and the hopes and the dreams that I thought that I would be able to have, the baby shower that I didn't have, right? The birthing classes that I didn't get to take, right? And the breathing, the techniques that I didn't get taught, right? All the things, and I found myself like, oh, why me? Why is this my experience? But look, this is why me. Right? I'm here to tell you all that I survived it and I did it. And it was difficult, but I'm grateful for my support system that helped me. Shortly after everything shut down, you all know, it was national news, international news, I would say, about what happened, racism that happened and the George Floyd incident. And here I am pregnant with a Black boy, with a son. And it crippled me. What am I going to do? How am I going to protect him, right? And so the fear, the everyday fear, just took over my body, and I tried to manage it, and it was scary. It was difficult for me. I would say 36 weeks pregnant. I had some complications, preeclampsia actually. And I was put on medication to help with my blood pressure. But by 37 weeks, I remember I had a doctor's visit, and I go to the doctors, and it's just routine. And I noticed I had some swelling. I said, "Oh, that's normal. Okay, some water retention. Oh, that's normal. Okay." But she says, I think I'm just going to go, you should go over to the hospital and let them run some more tests. But just in case, take your bag. By the way, what'd you eat today? Oatmeal. I'm planning on going to get some food after this, Okay, I'm going to go to the hospital. But she says, go, you don't have to rush, but go grab your bag. So I go home. My husband takes me home. We have our bag packed because I'm type A now. I had my bag packed. I will say that at 37 weeks. And so we go to the hospital, and they say, well, no, we're going to prep you for a C-section. Mm-hmm. My son was breech at 37 weeks. I also had preeclampsia. And so they told me it would be better if I delivered via cesarean. And so everything started to move so quickly. Mm. And I remember in that moment saying to the nurses, wait a minute, can I please just have a minute to pray? Mm. Can I call my mom? It's happening right now. And my husband, he's excited. He's throwing on his scrubs, his you know, and I'm looking over and I'm like, this is not what I had planned, right? And so I'm grateful to I had a doula, and she wasn't allowed to be there at the time, but I'm grateful to her because she educated me so much and she poured into me so much. And so my husband and I, we prayed, and I remember I had a phenomenal anesthesiologist, and he came in and he said, this is what we're going to do, and this is how I want you to, you know, sit on the bed or what have you. And the way he communicated to me, and he saw me in that moment, and I remember saying to him, well, is it something you could give me for my anxiety? Because I was so nervous. And so I was able to have a successful cesarean birth. My son is the light of my life. I'm actually sitting here 8 months postpartum with my second son, who is just amazing. And I'm just grateful to be here as a survivor. One of the things that I talked to you, Cheyanne, about is that when I went home, it was different, right? I'm recovering from this major surgery, and I have this baby, and I'm trying to figure out and process all the things that happened in the hospital. And so when I found myself in isolation, right? Because we're all still indoors, locked down, all the things, and I'm terrified because this is pre-vaccine. I'm terrified. I have a newborn baby. I don't want anybody to come in my house. I don't want to take him out. I don't want to, you know. And so my husband went back to work, and I remember the wave. It was like a dark cloud that just came over me. This actually happened in the hospital when he told me that he had jaundice, and I would have to start to give him formula. And I remember that feeling like, I'm not enough. I'm breastfeeding, but I'm not enough. I thought I was doing something right, but it's not helping him, you know, get rid of the jaundice, the bilirubin. And so I remember just feeling like, well, he doesn't need me, so why am I here? I've already, you know, failed. I didn't do this right, I didn't do that right. And so when I went home and my husband went back to work, those things kept coming up for me. They kept coming up for me. The exhaustion, the sleep deprivation really played a role. And so I remember that night, I said to my baby boy, I said, just go to sleep. I nursed him, I bathed him, all the things, because I had a plan. He would not go to sleep. He just kept looking at me, wanting to play and smiling. And so I'm here because my son, because my support system, because my God heard my cry. Because my friends listened to me when I said I wasn't okay. They shared resources with me, which is how I found PSVA. So now.
And we are so lucky that you are here with us and doing this work.
Thank you.
You have two beautiful babies.
Thank you.
Two very beautiful babies who you were the light of their life, I bet you.
Oh, yes.
And one, thank you. Thank you. And you're so strong. You are so strong for being here. And I know you know that now.
Absolutely.
You know that now.
Absolutely.
But tell me about, because one thing I hear is that there were red flags before your pregnancy. And we talked in the previous panel about the importance of screening.
Yes.
Tell me, do you feel that that screening process was emphasized enough in your case? And how, if you had had that screening, do you think it could have helped you?
You know, I did share that I was already seeing a therapist and I had a counselor, right? And I shared with you, there was nothing that I wanted more than to be a mom, right? And so I said, okay, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to go see a counselor and deal with all my past trauma so I don't pass them down to my children. And I did all those things, right? And so when I was in the pit of that postpartum depression and really perinatal depression, which is during pregnancy, I didn't connect the fact that I had already had struggle with mental illness or, challenges with that. I didn't make the connection that I had anxiety and all those things. And I don't think, and I wish that this did occur, but I don't think that conversation was had at any of my OB office appointments. It was never had, prior to pregnancy. Everything was about baby, but not mama. But mamas matter. Healthy mommy, healthy babies. And so I wish that a physician or a provider would have asked me, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling even during my pregnancy? And really screened for some of those things, or asked me, hey, do you have a history of this? Are you connected with a therapist? Well, I did my due diligence and I was connected. So that's a great thing. And I was able to connect with my counselor in the pit of my depression. In fact, I love her immensely. And when I talked to her in that moment, and she asked me, how am I doing? And she asked me, what's going on or what have you. And I remember telling her, no, I don't want to say it. I can't say it. And she said, you have to tell me. You have to tell me. And I did. And I said it. I said I wanted to kill myself to her. And she was phenomenal in getting me the immediate help that I need. So I'm grateful to her in how she connected me with another provider who I was able to get on medication, which I was nervous about because here I am nursing, I'm breastfeeding. What does that look like? How is it going to get into my milk? Is it going to decrease my supply? None of those things happened. So let me make that clear. 100% exclusively breastfed son, and it helped both of us. I was able to get breast, right, and so it really benefited me for a provider to ask me, how am I doing?
We've spoken, and again, even with the last panel, about how we often put that onus on mom to say, I need help. Mom has to come forward and say, I need help. When your therapist was able to ask you, when your therapist was able to say, you tell me, let me take that responsibility of asking you how you are, would you have told her if you hadn't been asked?
I'd like to say Kamisha, myself. I think I would have. I think that I do a great job of advocating for myself, right? I think I do a good job at saying, hey, no, I'm not okay. I think I shared with my husband, and I think he's seen me, and we talked about this. He saw me, and in retrospect, he said, you were unrecognizable at times. And I want to be clear about some things. It's not always sadness. I was irritable. I was angry. I was frustrated, the slightest little things. Why didn't you wash the nipple of the bottle correct? I mean, it really, and so because, now he's going to be sick and the germs and this. And so the thoughts and everything just started to spiral. And so when I shared with my husband and I shared with people that I wasn't okay, I'm grateful for my village.
That support system we talked about.
That support system. But did they know what to do for me? I don't think so.
So when we think about the support system, when you reflect on your experience, when you reflect on being here and talking with us today, what words of advice do you give, especially to first-time Black mothers who, as you mentioned, you're dealing with systemic racism, you're dealing with bringing a child into a world where we see the news, we see what happens. just yourself and going through those motions of being, as we heard last panel, strong Black woman. What words of advice would you give to first-time Black mothers?
Take off that cape. Take off that cape. Don't let society put these pressures on you. Motherhood is hard. Parenthood is hard. It's difficult, right? And my advice would be to find your village. Talk to your friends who are also parents, right? And this is not just for mommies. This is dads too, you know? And I put a lot of that emphasis on my husband. I'm like, hey, you can ask some of your friends, do they know somebody that can watch the kids so we can get a date nightly, you know? And so really building that community of support, and that's what we do and have at PSVA. That is how I found PSVA. I found a support group for women of color, and I joined that support group. And I remember that very first call, I had my camera off and AJ sitting on my lap, and I just cried, and I just let it out. And you know, I was seen, I was heard. Right? And so my advice is to, hey, speak up, say something. Say, I just don't, even if it's, I don't feel like myself. I can't put my finger on it. I may not call it depression. I may not call it anxiety, but I don't feel like myself. Something's up.
And so on the flip side of that, because again, as we said, it can't always be moms who have to say, I'm not okay. It can't always be moms to say, I don't feel like myself.
That's correct.
And I want to put this out there because we have heard repeatedly about the importance of a diverse medical workforce. And you did share with me that you had Black workers, medical workers around you.
I did.
So what would you say then to our medical system, to our healthcare providers on what we need to see from them to help close this gap that Black mothers, Indigenous mothers, mothers in general are facing when it comes to their health?
You know, I think that culturally we become just a society or a people that just likes to check off boxes, right? I've done this, I gave it a clipboard, I asked her the questions, right? But there is a loss of compassion. There's a loss of connection. There's a loss of, it's just, you know, client and provider instead of person to person, mother to mother, father to mother, right? And that's what that anesthesiologist did for me. I don't know if he's a parent, but he saw me and it felt like he had children and he understood. Right? And he talked to me like a mom. What does a mom need to hear? Right? He talked to me as if, you know, I was a sister or, you know, someone that he really cared about. Okay, this is how, you know, we're going to do it. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm just going down my list of things when I'm telling you what's going to happen to you. I'm saying this is how I'm going to support you in this. And so the compassion, and I know it's difficult for physicians, but having the time, because sometimes, you know, we have our appointment slots. We see the nurse to come in, and we see, you know, they take the vitals and things, and then we have a short moment with the provider, and then, you know, they're gone, and somebody else does your blood work, and somebody else does. But I wish that I had more time with my provider, and that my providers didn't have the pressure of, okay, I got to go on to my next one, then, you know, this one, and, you know, I wish I had more time to just sit and for her to ask me, you know, how are you?
Yeah. Kamisha, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. I told y'all I would keep talking to her if I could because I adore her. But I'm going to ask you one last question that I'm sure is on everybody's minds. How are baby brothers doing?
Oh, they are phenomenal. They love each other. I mean, I'm so looking forward to seeing them together as Amir, which is my youngest, gets a little older because he's only 8 months. But AJ is thrilled to be a big brother. I'm grateful to be back in the workforce with PSVA and to do the work that I do. I'm very passionate about it, as you can see. I'm trying to hold back tears, but I love what I do. I love helping mothers, and I feel really truthfully that I not only am I, as I'm pouring into the mom, I'm pouring into the child. And that's what I love to do. Thank you for
Kamisha,
having
thank you
me.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheyanne, and thank you, Kamisha. And that brings us to the end of our program. Thanks to all of the wonderful speakers this morning. And on behalf of The Hill and our sponsor, Sage Therapeutics, we'd like to thank everyone who joined us here in the room and online. If you missed any portion of today's discussion, you can find it on thehill.com. Thank you.